Okay, so one of the events that leads up to the shootout of the OK Corral is there was a sort of a bungled, failed robbery on a stagecoach. It's called the Benson Stage robbery. The Benson Stage is not far from Tombstone. They called them sort of stages where your coach would stop, go on in stages. The Benson Stage robbery, which was bungled, and two people, it was held up by 4 masked men, and 2 people were killed in it. And as soon as the news got to Tombstone, like that night, the Earps set up sort of a posse to try and find these criminals.
Yep.
And this is sort of a bit shrouded in what happened there, because it seems almost probably, I think most people agree now, that it was the Cowboys one way or another. Like I say, there's lots of members of this very loose-knit gang.
Totally likely that it was them.
It's the sort of thing they would do in the vicinity of where they operated.
Yeah.
All that sort of thing. And in fact, well, it looks like the Earp brothers did catch one of the guys, and he just said, "Oh yeah, it was all the Cowboys. It was this guy, this guy, and this guy." But all the details get mixed up because Ike Clanton and some of the others put out rumours that Doc was one of them.
Right.
That the Doc himself was one of them. And where he and Big Nose Kate had a very tempestuous on and off again relationship, apparently they got Big Nose Kate drunk and made her sign an affidavit saying she thought it was Doc.
Right. But, I mean, we don't have a history of him stealing up until this point, do we?
Not particularly. No, he doesn't hold up banks or anything like that. No,
he's a terrible guy, but theft isn't actually in his wheelhouse, right? So,
I would say that. It's not his MO at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, okay.
Then there's some other evidence. Some guy said, "Oh, Doc did take a horse that night."
To escape? Yeah, okay, that's not the same thing.
All right.
That's obviously an act of desperation.
And then to muddy the waters even more, the Clantons say, it was the Earp brothers themselves that did it. Their posse to go out and find people who did it was all the smoke screen. They were behind it.
All right, let's just have a shootout about it. We'll decide. God will decide the truth of it.
Yeah.
I'm at that point now. It's just everyone pointing fingers now.
The real sheriff, Johnny Behan's, just like I don't.
Who knows?
If you Earp brothers want to get involved in this and do what you want to do, it's up to you. He basically was like that about it. Like some help. But quite a few lawmen in those days out in the West were like that. They sort of let things go on.
Yeah.
As long as loads of civilians weren't getting killed.
It's dangerous stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can hardly blame him.
Yeah. Kate implicated Doc in that, and even though they didn't exactly break up, he apparently after that he was never like really close to her.
Thanks,
whether
Kate.
they would sometimes say they were married.
Yeah.
Not really after that.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so things just there's sort of some sort of vendetta thing going on now.
That's spiraling out of control.
Between the Cowboy faction and the Earp faction.
How many people are involved in each side, would you say?
Dozen? On the Cowboys side, it's like there's hundreds of them basically,
Right.
And the Earps there's only there's 4 or 5 brothers and Doc Holliday, and a few others are on their side.
Yeah,
but the actual shootout at the OK Corral is 4 versus 5.
Right.
So
not very many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because one thing you said right near the beginning. Was that it's very lawless and there's shootings going on all the time, but sort of mass shootouts like this are rare. And in some places, shootings and murders were really rare because in that particular community, they knew that if anyone's got out of line, you would be hanged for it, or maybe even shot by the marshal or the sheriff on the spot. So it kept people in line. In other places, not so much. I was listening to, Cheyenne or somewhere like that. There's like a murder a day.
Really? Playing?
Yeah. It was still only effectively what we would think of as a small town, but it had like 30 saloons,
nearly
and 20 brothels, and there was a murder a day.
Yeah.
So some places were way more dangerous than others, put it that way.
Yeah.
And Tombstone is just one where, the rule of law had not been established, should we say. And Ike Clanton and a few of his associates just wanted to go around shooting guns in the air, just in celebration and stuff, really kind of in defiance of the Earps.
Yep.
At one point during that, one of the story goes, and this is in the few days before the shootout at the OK Corral, in one of those silly celebration type craziness. They're drunk. They've just made a load of money and they're drunk and at night and they're shooting people's windows in for a laugh. It's pretty
Hilarious.
bad, really. Yeah,
hilarious.
Yeah.
Then tell me someone gets shot.
Yeah.
Oh, what a
One
surprise.
of their own gang, it does seem, completely by accident, gets shot.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, right.
Who could have predicted this? Yeah.
It's funny in wars, actually. Whenever there's guns around, people get shot accidentally.
Yeah.
That happens in wars all the time.
Yeah.
Just you accidentally shoot your own buddy. That's so common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever there's live guns around, I just wouldn't really want to be particularly near it.
You know what? What's interesting is I actually felt very safe when I've been to a few American shooting ranges now. And actually the discipline on these ranges is incredible. Right. No one is frivolous. Right. No one is just messing around. Everyone's totally sober. Everyone's totally controlled. And it's like, okay, this actually feels very safe, like, because actually everyone's just being really disciplined. I never felt in danger.
Oh, cool.
Cool. It's a really interesting culture they've got on these gun ranges.
Yeah.
Really good. It's really good, actually.
Yeah, I'd like to go to a big gun range one time.
Oh, it's great fun. And it's just like incredibly strict discipline. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, in wars, quite often you're patrolling and you accidentally shoot one of your own guys in front of you while you're just walking along with a gun.
Yeah. Accidentally touched trigger. I didn't mean to.
Yeah. And these old shooting irons could quite often, they're not precision engineered particularly. Well, it is precision engineering, but it just as like to blow your own hand off. I'm exaggerating that massively, but anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, and when that happens, when the Clanton boys accidentally shoot one of their own in sort of high jinks, Wyatt Earp comes over and tries to take the gun off one of them, and he tries to resist, and that's when he smashes him on the head one time, and like the cowboys are like, we just don't submit to your authority, basically.
Yeah, bro, he just shot one of your mates. So yeah, but you're not really the sheriff, so piss off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so there's just resentment is boiling over now, really. Well, so one day, I think it was maybe the next day from that, Ike Clanton's apparently walking around Tombstone, going from saloon to saloon, telling anyone that will listen, I'm going to kill the Earps and Doc Holliday. If they get in my way again, I'm going to shoot them down and stuff like this. And he's a bit drunk, so it's not so. But apparently, again, that's sort of well documented. Dozens of accounts of people saying, yeah, he's going around doing that all day, basically. And then in the evening, at one of the saloons, there was, what was it, like the Long Branch Saloon, or there was one called the Oriental Saloon. We've all got names, it's all well documented, it's great stuff, filling the light of history. Apparently, Doc walked straight up to him and says, I heard you're going to kill me, Ike. Get out your gun and commence.
Maniac.
Yeah. And apparently Virgil Earp just gets in, because Virgil Earp is a full-blown proper US Marshal, I believe. Gets in the way of him, just like, calm down, guys, calm down. And Ike does. Apparently they go on to, Virgil goes on to play cards with Ike for most of that evening. But at one point that night, Wyatt Earp walks out and Ike follows him out. And is supposed to have said to him, tell your consumptive friend, your Arizona Nightingale, he's a dead man tomorrow. Wyatt Earp's supposed to have replied, don't you tangle with Doc Holliday, he will kill you before you've begun.
I mean, he's done it before. He's literally done it many, many a time. Don't know what to tell you, buddy.
He gutted a man over a card table.
Yeah, it's just, if anyone was capable of doing it, it seems like it's Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
Actual lunatic.
Right. So that next morning, quite early in the morning, relatively, Ike Clanton is still just talking trash around Tombstone to the point where the Earps sort of arrest him, take him to the local jail.
That's enough trash talk. You're under arrest.
But he just gets a fine. It's different in those days. You couldn't just hold someone sort of indefinitely, hardly at all, really. But they just sort of fine him. And one of his sort of close buddies, one of the McLowrys, Tom McLowry, as Wyatt Earp walks out, they literally bump into each other, and there's sort of some crossed words. And Wyatt Earp does his classic thing of smacking him on the head with his gun, knocks him out.
Okay, Wyatt.
And so from that point onwards, it's on. This is the day of the OK Corral now.
Right.
So in October 1881, we're talking. Knocks out Tom McLowry. And so when he comes round and Ike Clanton's let out of jail, they just go and get their boys. I think there's 6 of them. And so the whole rest of that day, because the actual shootout's in the afternoon, like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, there's just loads of sort of little incidents where this sort of small posse of cowboys keep walking past the Earps, staring at them.
They're trying to incite something.
Yeah. At one point, they walk past them, just really staring them down, and go into the local gun shop and buy loads of ammo right in front of them, and walk back past them. Yeah. It's saying a message. It's a real message. At one point, one of the cowboys' horses, steps up on the sort of wooden veranda sidewalk thing. That's not allowed. That's a very, very minor infringement of the law. Right. Wyatt bowls straight over to it and just takes the horse off the sidewalk, and they like come out, and there's like crosswords again. And then after that, some go-between, some local businessman, busybody, comes to the Earps and says to him that Ike Clanton and the boys have just said that either you've got to have a shootout with them today, or they're going to hunt you down one by one. So it's up to you what you do next. Sort of the ball's in your court. And so even Doc Holliday got word. Big Nose Kate is around. Big Nose Kate comes to Doc and says, the Clanton boys and the cowboys, they're waiting for you at this specific place. It's a little empty lot. It's not actually at the OK Corral. Yeah. That's a few yards away. There's like this empty lot, a really small space. I think like only like 10, 15 yards across. Quite a small space. And the cowboys were sort of waiting. Some say to sort of ambush Doc, because they knew where Doc would walk every day, go to the same saloons. Right. Now, maybe they were saying they're waiting for Doc, but Doc gets word from Big Nose Kate, who's got her big nose in all the business.
Yeah. Useful to have around sometimes.
She says, go and meet the Earps, because something's going to happen, something's going to go down. Yeah. They want your blood as much as the Earps. So there's a good line where she said they're going to kill you or something, and Doc is supposed to have said, if God lets me live long enough, he will see me. I know that's it. They said Ike Clanton wants to see you. And Doc is supposed to have said, if God lets me live long enough, he will see me. Again, because he's only a few years from death. Yeah. So he's
must be quite
ill.
rough.
He's quite ill. They said he was sort of quite gaunt looking, much old, looked much older than his time. When he's really close to death, they said his hair was white, and he used a cane to walk, and he was sort of almost doubled over. He looked really old. You couldn't believe he was like a 35-year-old. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what happens next. So I want to get the details right, because this is one of those things in history where some people just love this story so much, and all the details have to be just right. Okay. There's a little bit of a confrontation outside the gun shop. And then one of the main streets leading down to the OK Corral and this empty lot where the actual shootout happened was Fremont Street. Mm-hmm. And so, sort of like something out of a movie, you see the 3 Earp brothers, Virgil, Wyatt and Morgan Earp, and Doc Holliday. These 4 guys, 4 abreast, walking down the middle of Fremont Street. Bold as brass. Really bold as brass. Quite incredible, really. And all the Earps apparently were wearing black, but Doc was dressed in natty grey. Right, okay. Very natty. Yeah. He liked to be well turned out. Yeah. Did old Doc. And so the story, Virgil Earp had went and got a shotgun, a Wells Fargo 10-gauge shotgun. Mm-hmm. And just before they sort of make their famous walk down Fremont Street, he gives the shotgun to Doc. Now, a 10-gauge shotgun, a big bore. Yeah. Like this, it's bigger than the 12 gauge. Yeah. So if you get shot with at close range with a 10-gauge shotgun, it's going to be pretty messy. Yeah. Anyway, Doc's got a double-barreled 10-gauge, as well as his pistols. Yeah. As well as his 38s on his hip. And so the Earps, their story after the fact is that they were going to go there and just disarm the cowboys.
Sure, it would have worked out brilliantly.
Um,
Sure, the Cowboys were like, you know what, Wyatt, you got a good point. Here's my gun. I was in the wrong.
So the people there, it's the three Earp brothers and Doc on that side, and on the other side you've got Ike. You've got Billy Clanton, Ike Clanton, Frank Anton McLowry, and Billy Claiborne, who's one of the sort of most important guys in their group. So they confront them, and apparently Wyatt Earp is supposed to have said something along the lines of, "Give up your guns. You know, we've got to take your guns off you now." And sort of in and around that moment, again, even though this has been poured over so much, all the accounts don't exactly line up. Either they heard one or two of the McLowry brothers cock their pistols, which is a sure sign that there's imminent gunplay, or they just drew their pistols at that moment.
Right.
And then 2 or even 3 of them all shot at the same instant. And in the next 30 seconds, the whole shootout at the OK Corral took place over about 30 seconds.
Of course it did.
And about 30 shots were fired. And it's a bit of a maelstrom.
Well, yeah.
Right.
It's a gunfight at close range, you know?
Right, yeah, point blank range, really. A few yards from each other. Yeah. They're all sort of lined up in this little lot.
Yeah.
And there's just bullets flying all over the place.
Right.
One thing to say, I would say, is that they more or less, especially the Earps, more or less stay where they are. More or less rooted to the spot in this 30-odd seconds shooting. But Doc moves around. It's like he's been trained by Delta or the SAS, like move and fire, move and fire. Doc is moving around, doing stuff.
Right.
And he's got his 12 bore. He unloads both barrels of that into, I think, Tom McLowry. Doesn't blow him in half, does kill him.
Well, yeah.
But both barrels from a 10 bore at close range, 10 gauge.
He's down.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
The other McLowry is killed. So let's see. Yeah, what's the death toll on it?
What happens?
So at one point in the middle of this, it's either that Doc has shot his shotgun, hasn't pulled his pistol yet, and I think it is Frank McLowry has got a pistol on Doc but hasn't shot him, and Doc is supposed to have said, again, this is quite well documented, he's supposed to have said, "Blaze away, you're a daisy if you do," or "You're a daisy if you have."
Right.
Meaning, I dare you.
Yeah.
I double dare you.
Yeah.
And someone else clips him and then Doc shoots him.
Yeah.
Anyway, both of the McLowry boys are killed in that.
Right.
And Billy Clanton is killed. Yeah. So they're the three dead. Ike wasn't armed. And in the middle of this 30 seconds, he approaches Wyatt Earp and goes, "I'm not armed." And Wyatt Earp goes, "Get out of here, get out of here." And he does, he runs away.
Why aren't you armed for a start? Like, you know,
right.
That's mad.
I guess the Earps caught them unawares. They were sort of getting ready in this in this deserted lot between two buildings. And Ike Clanton does run away to the building next door just to get out of immediate fire. Yeah. But also there's a story that at the last instant he turns around, did have a concealed pistol and takes one shot at Wyatt Earp and misses.
Fair enough.
So Ike Clanton and Billy Claiborne both run from the scene, and the other 3 are dead. Billy Clanton and Frank and Tom McLowry are killed.
So none of Wyatt Earp's posse die then?
They don't die. Wyatt Earp himself is completely unscathed, not a scratch on him. I think there is one bullet that went sort of through his coat or something, but he was unscathed. Virgil and Doc are both very, very minorly wounded, like bullet grazes almost, a little more than that. Morgan Earp does get shot, and it hits his vertebrae, we're told. But it doesn't sort of like, it certainly doesn't kill him. Yeah. And he recovers from the wound. So
that's lucky.
Yeah, it wasn't...
Very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. But he is basically hit in the back somehow. But yeah, it's not sort of a crazy wound.
Well, that's a hell of a lucky day for those guys then. You know, like 30 seconds of blazing gunfire and a few scratches, you know?
It seems like one of the first shots, when 2 or even 3 people fired at almost the same instant, one of those was Wyatt Earp, and his first shot was accurate.
Right.
And after that, it's sort of all hell breaks loose. Probably, it seems like possibly only Doc really, really kept his head, where he can still say sarcastic things in the middle of it, and it's got and it's got like the presence of mind to move around.
Yeah.
Because again, it was witnessed by quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
because everyone knew what was happening.
Yeah, there's going to be a crowd watching from the windows.
Right, exactly. And they're saying Doc is sort of moving fire.
Dude obviously knew what he's doing.
Yeah, all right.
He's been in enough of these conflicts to know that you move so they don't get a bead on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I went paintballing, like a decade ago, more than, with a friend of mine who I'd grown up with in school, or, in Germany for a few years. And he'd gone off to Sandhurst and become, like a captain in the army or something. And he was in, I think it was Iraq or Afghanistan with like 4 Challenger tanks under him and stuff like this. And so when we went paintballing, he was like, look, this is what we have to do, right? Everyone moves at a different time. So you move to this tree, you shoot, and then you just move and you just do it. And at the same time, he'll be moving to that tree and move and shoot. And so like, because we were getting completely pinned down by this other team. But as soon as he was like, no, this is what we do. And as soon as we did that, we completely stormed them because as soon as, there's lots of different bits of movement around you. You can't like get a proper aim on them. And so we ended up just encircling the enemy team and gunning them all down. It was brilliant.
Nice.
So I'm not even joking. I have first-hand experience to say through paintball that genuinely moving in a gunfight is what you have to do. Because if you're standing still, they can like take their time to get a bead on you. And that was why they were pinning us down. It's like, no, just go. You'll be fine.
I myself played quite a lot of paintball in the 1990s.
Yeah, this was in the 90s.
And one of the things you do, you just...
no, in the 2000s. Sorry.
You shoot their barricade and it makes you put your head down. When your barricade's going thwack, 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 against your barricade, you put your head down. Yeah. That's when someone can run up to you and mug your barricade, just shoot you at point blank range because you've got your head down. Yeah.
And the way you're able to approach, even if you can't just like, keep shots on the barricade, is just keep moving. Just keep moving. Move, and because then you pop up in a different place and they've got to constantly realign themselves and stuff like that. Yeah. So Doc was, as far as I can tell, doing exactly the right thing.
When people know where you are and they've got your number, it's just a matter of time before you peek out and get hit.
Yeah. It's just It's just a matter of time otherwise. Good on Doc for being a proper gunman. I would say he knows what he's doing.
One last note on that because I want to do it as much justice as I can. Really, is that just as Wyatt Earp is supposed to have said, like, give us your guns, we're disarming you, and they go to pull them or they cock them or something, you're supposed to have said, no, I didn't mean that. Is that the line? I didn't want that. No, I didn't want that, you're supposed to have said, just before all the shooting goes off.
Wow.
Because there is a trial and everything afterwards. Now, after all this goes down...
So three of the 5 die, is it?
Yeah.
Right, okay, and then 1 gets away, and what happens to the other one?
2 gets away. Billy Claiborne and Ike get away. 3 die.
Right.
And all the Earps and Doc survive.
Okay.
But in a sense, that's the beginning of a long vendetta.
Well, I can imagine it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the Cowboys are not going to be happy with that.
Thrilled with that. Yeah.
Ike Clanton's not just going to let that go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But an interesting note about Doc Holliday himself. Is that after that, apparently he went back to his hotel room where Big Nose Kate was and wept.
Well, I imagine it was quite stressful.
Yeah, apparently he was supposed to have just kept saying over and over, this is terrible, this is terrible.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.